Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about all these booty blasting gimmicks we see for women. And I know this is a slightly different topic because I don't make many videos specifically addressing things for women because quite frankly they're a smaller part of my audience. And number two, fundamentally men and women don't need to train differently, they just might have slightly different goals, which might require individual adjustments in their training. So let me put on my plus 5 out of weaponsmithing and let's talk about this. All right. We see this stuff all the time. We see all this fluff and pump. Just like I talk about men doing fluff and pump for their chest and shoulders and everything else, women do fluff and pump exercises for their butt. Now the reality is what most women are trying to do with this stuff when they say they want to tone up their butt, they're trying to add muscle to their butt. Because more muscle in your butt makes it rounder, makes it perkier. If you can add 2 inches of solid muscle to most women's behinds, they will get that look that they want. It'll give them that look that they want. Because just adding fat doesn't necessarily help. This is why a lot of women get butt implants. Adding fat doesn't help because fat tends to be distributed in other places. In other words, it's going to go to your stomach and hips and everything else, and not all of them desire that. If they bulk up and gain enough fat to gain it on their butt, everything gets bigger. So the whole point is that you're trying to gain muscle. Well, what do we see all the time? We see women doing these booty blasting routines. People trying to do things on machines to try to isolate the glutes more, which doesn't work. It puts them in terrible anatomic positions, like all the stuff on a Smith machine. I believe Smith machines should be melted down for scrap metal. They serve no place in training. I think they're a useless device. But they do stuff on Smith machines, or they try to do things with bands and all sorts of stuff to try to extend the hip and everything else. And I've even seen coming through my Facebook feed some of these like booty bands that women put on their foot and stretch behind them. And what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is, what are our biggest factors in inducing hypertrophy, muscle growth? It's going to be mechanical tension and metabolic fatigue through workload. Well, it doesn't take very much strength development to do some of these things these women do, right? These devices and things they use, there's no real progressive overload present because most women can do 5 or 10 of them from a start. So where do you stop when you get to 100 in a row, 200 in a row, 1,000 in a row? Are you really going to gain significant muscle mass with that? No, just like you're not going to gain much muscle if you bench an empty or squat an empty barbell forever. It's going to reach a very quick threshold where you stop gaining any significant benefit from it. You have to be able to overload with more tension, which means more weight, more mechanical tension, and more workload, which is tonnage moved. That is how you stimulate muscle growth. And what most women who are doing this are doing, they want to see more muscle growth on their butt than most guys are trying to get in their biceps, right? That's what they're doing, or at least in proportion, similar amounts. They want to maximize that. And to maximize that, you need big, heavy compound movements in which you can disperse the workload through multiple muscles. And the reason I say that is that when you try to isolate a muscle, what happens? You struggle to train it. You stall out on progressive overload. Compound movements are the only exercises that you can train in the long term to see continual progress, because you can keep training the motor patterns and neural efficiency, and different muscles will come up in proportion to the primary movers, and you can see more long-term progress. If all you do for a muscle group is try to isolate it, you're very, very quickly going to see stalls in muscle mass gains. And that's been noted by every coach in the world over decades. Exclusively trying to isolate a muscle doesn't work. So when we look at it though, what are the muscles, or what are the exercises that give the best recruitment of the glutes? Deep barbell squats. And what we found in all the data, both the biomechanics involved as well as various EMG data and everything else, is that the deeper you go on a squat, the more glute activation you get. And the upside is that a barbell can be infinitely loaded. In other words, a person can be training for 2 years straight and still make significant progress on a barbell squat. So in other words, not only does a deep squat allow for a very large amount of recruitment of the glutes, it also brings in other muscles like the quads, the hips, other things, and the core. Other body parts that you might want to see some benefits in are all brought in simultaneously while being an enormous activator of the glutes. And again, the barbell squat, because of the nature of the exercise, can be loaded long term. In other words, you can keep improving over time. So if you've been doing this for a year, you could probably still put, even most women could put another 30, 40 pounds or 50 pounds on their squat in the second year they're training, and then another 20 or 30 the third year. In other words, you can see continual progress so that you can keep doing this until you are happy with the results, and then you can coast. But you have an almost unlimited ability to continue to increase it in the long term, albeit on diminished returns. But you can always get stronger on the squat, probably for most people up until maybe mid 40s, early 50s. You can continue to improve on it. So you can continue to refine those results as long as you're willing to continue to get stronger on the exercise. And as most people would say, well, you really need more than one exercise. That's not always true, but if you do want to work muscles at different angles, what else involves the glutes heavily? Any exercise where you pull off the floor. And that includes deadlifts. And a lot of people will say, well, I do Romanian deadlifts. A lot of these women, yeah, but Romanian deadlifts don't work the glutes as much as a pull off the floor does. So the question I would ask is, what are you trying to do? If you're really trying to stimulate the glutes maximally, you need to be pulling from the floor. Deadlifts, how about power cleans, Olympic lift, any of the Olympic lifts. Power snatches, power cleans, but definitely deadlifts, pulled from the floor from a dead stop on every rep. So here's the thing. If women really want to get that toned athletic body they want, and they want nice leg development, and they want the round hypertrophied butt muscles that are desirable, and they want a strong looking core, shouldn't those be the exercises they're doing? Because those are the exercises that build the glutes the most, in addition to working the entire body, building up your core, everything else. And in other words, I'm saying is that if most women came in and focused primarily on the squat, and then also did deadlifts, power cleans, power snatches, they would have the butt they want, have the body they want. They could probably get away with only doing those 4 exercises for the rest of their life, and they can continue to improve their physique to whatever level they choose to take it to over the course of the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. In addition to all the other health benefits you get from heavy free weight training. And that's something that a lot of women who jump into training, they don't think about early on, but as they get further into it, they realize breast cancer, ovarian cancer, those things are positively influenced by free weight training. You cut your chances of getting those by 50%. It staves off osteoporosis, and osteoporosis hits women a hell of a lot harder than it does men. Diabetes, lifting weights cuts diabetes rates by 70%. And so the point is, if women were to pick these most efficient exercises, instead of buying into these trendy, gimmicky things, they were to do these efficient, big barbell movements, they would achieve the butt that they want years faster, would have the ability to continue to refine it, and would get secondary health benefits that are going to carry over to all these diseases that women are going to start to worry about as they reach middle age and menopause, and in some cases much younger than that. So again, this is a multifold solution, and the thing is, all these fluffy, wuffy exercises, all this fluff and pump, as I like to call it for guys, we could say all the glute movements that they have to people try to sell women all these movement patterns and devices are just as bad, and they're just as useless. In other words, get under a heavy barbell, squat it deep, learn the barbell squat, and learn to pull heavy stuff off the floor. That's your fix, and continue to get stronger at them. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.